But in union schools, there's a problem.
We tolerate mediocrity, and people get paid the same, whether they're outstanding or whether they're average, or indeed whether they're way below average.
Joel Klein is chancellor of New York City schools, the biggest public school system in the country.
Fourth grade, a very big year.
He says the teachers union's rigid contract makes it very hard to fire any teacher. One teacher sent sexual emails to Cutie 101, his 16-year-old student.
This is the most unbelievable case to me because the email was there. He admitted to it. It was so thoroughly offensive.
And he confesses.
He admits this. I mean, you have the email. He admits that he did it.
You can't fire him?
It's almost impossible.
These are the steps a principal must follow to fire a bad teacher. Look at this thing.
The teachers union got so many protections to make sure principals don't fire unfairly or play favorites that principals rarely even try to jump through all these hoops to fire a bad teacher. In the last 2 years, says Klein, only 2 teachers out of 80,000 have been fired for incompetence.
It makes no sense. And you don't know other places where this goes on. This is not like you can say they're doing this at IBM or some other place, right? This is unique to our environment, which we don't distinguish among people. And as a result of that, we don't reward excellence.
Why don't you reward excellence?
Because it's barred by the contract. So it is a regulatory nightmare.
So much so that he couldn't just fire that teacher who sent those sexual emails.
We've paid him. He hasn't taught, but we have had to pay him because that's what's required under the contract.
Paid him more than $300,000. Only after 6 years of expensive litigation were they finally able to fire him. Hundreds of teachers who the city calls incompetent, racist, dangerous, or guilty of sexual misconduct have been paid millions.
And what do they do with those teachers? Well, they put them in the rubber room because they don't want these teachers to get near the kids. So they just come here and sit, hang around, read magazines, waste time, and waste your money.
Today, the city pays $20 million a year to house teachers in rubber rooms. Everywhere, unions resist the practice that made GE and other organizations successful. Weed out the bad.
There aren't really bad teachers.
The rules must stand, say unions everywhere.
Wisconsin public schools are great schools.
Test scores are up.
The teachers union spend millions on ads saying the schools are great.
There's an explosion of excellence in New York public schools.
Since the schools are excellent, they say, don't mess around with our rules and benefits.
Unionized monopolies like yours fail. And in this case, it's the children who you are failing.
We are not a unionized monopoly, and ultimately, those folks who want to say this all the time, they don't really care about kids.
You have it all here on West Adams Street, all the familiar big city blight. The forever broken windows, the burnt-out flats, the disemboweled, abandoned cars. And then you have 3819 West Adams.
The Canterbury Tales are about whom? Jeffrey Charles. They're about whom? How many? How many were there? 29.
There are no frills at West Side. The emphasis is on basic education, with an even stronger emphasis on literature and composition. There are no teacher breaks, no teacher desks. She is on her feet and over their shoulders all day, pushing them, cajoling them, and praising them.
Very, very good, Lisa. Very, very good. Cum laude.
And the results are apparent even to a casual bystander. Alert and challenged children being pushed way beyond the boundaries most school systems set. Who's your favorite author?
Geoffrey Chaucer and Shakespeare. Booker T. Washington and Hans Christian Andersen. My favorite book is The Greek Myth.
Greek myths.
I like Fyodor Dostoevsky and Dante Alighieri and Shakespeare.
And your favorite book?
Divine Comedy. I like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, and I like Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre.
So what happened to those 34 students we met at Westside Prep? We traced 33 of the 34 and flew a group of them back to Chicago, back to Westside Prep's new location for a reunion of sorts.
Aren't you pretty?
Christopher Stubblefield,
We learn to read hard words.
The 8-year-old with the big voice is now at university in Texas, and Erica McCoy Pace graduated last spring from Norfolk State University. When you saw her last, she was listing her favorite authors.
Emerson, Henry David Thoreau.
And what about the rest of our class of 79?
Michael Anderson, Taylor. Terry Holmes, owner-operator of transportation company.
Latanya Singleton, preschool teacher.
James Lowe, Staff Sergeant, United States Air Force.
Sabrina Yates, 6th grade teacher.
Rysel Winters, law student.
Louis Johnson, operations manager.
Xavier Jones, teacher, criminal justice major.
Craig Brunner, clerk for the state's attorney's office.
Well, Michael Anderson was said to have a learning disability when he entered Marva's school at age 9.
I had a client just a couple months ago, brought up Shakespeare out of nowhere. And we sat after having coffee for 3 hours. You know? Well, where did you learn Shakespeare? 4th grade.
And there is Erica, who is considered a hopeless case at age 6.
Basically, I was told that I was borderline retarded, that I would never read.
I was supposed to be put back a couple of grades, but I wasn't when I came to Miss Collins.
Ask the slowest children in your class how many children know the rap songs, and they all raise their hands, and I'll say them for me. And I says, good. If you can do that, you can learn the Canterbury Tales in Old English, too. I don't know half of what those rap songs are saying, but they know every line. What makes us think, then, that they become such learning disabilities when they get to school?
Mrs. Bryant and class, equalize means to make equal.
Good job.
Then, as now, the emphasis is on clear and lucid communication.
Quadrilateral.
Beginning in kindergarten.
Children. Quadrilateral means a figure having 4 sides and 4 angles. Mrs. Bryant and class.
These 4- and 5-year-olds are students at Westside Prep's second campus on Chicago's South Side. The principal gave us a tour.
Class, can you say good morning to Mr. Safer?
Good morning, Mr. Safer.
If the face looks familiar, it's another former student of Marva Collins, her son Patrick. Many of these children come from middle-class backgrounds. For them, tuition is about $4,000 a year. The poor pay much less. For the poorest of the poor, Marva provides Wells Prep for free for residents of the Ida B. Wells Housing Project, home of Chicago's most lethal gang. Students are taken on a first-come, first-served basis. The methods are the same. No sports, no art, no recess, no nonsense, no self-pity. Plenty of Shakespeare.
I need an antagonist.
Tie ball.
Tie ball.
Funding for the Wells School comes from the Justice Department, a pilot project to see if education can beat drugs and crime. Could you have got lost in the streets of the West Side?
Most definitely. Very easily. Very easily. A lot of my friends who didn't go to Marva Collins around high schools where they got caught up in things, where school just wasn't their focus in life, and they just went their ways, be it gangs or whatever else they did outside of basketball.